An Investigation into Affordable Housing by J. Mark Maldonado, Margaret Kiphart, and Jesse Garcia. The topic chosen by our group was why does informal housing persist even when affordable housing options are available? How location and affordability impact residential choice by households? The most direct answer to the initial question is that affordable can be a deceptive term, and affordable housing is not an option available to everyone. The theme of this presentation is that affordable housing is a circumstantial problem, an issue that depends on time and place, with modified causations and thus unique solutions. Therefore, we propose addressing the affordable housing crisis at the local level with tailored initiatives that work with the contingent nature of the problem. In an effort to provide a comprehensive analysis on this topic and to reiterate our proposal, our presentation is considered from both a global and regional perspective. The agenda for this presentation is as follows: global perspectives on informal housing, housing crisis in the United States, impacts of location and affordability on residential choice by household, proposed methodology and initiatives, conclusion. Our first issue of concern: why informal housing persists even when affordable formal options are available. Informal settlements, based on the United Nations Habitat Program definition, are residential areas where a group of housing units has been constructed on land to which the occupants have no legal claim or which they occupy illegally. 2. Unplanned settlements and areas where housing is not in compliance with current planning and building regulations. This is an informal settlement world map based on population instead of land mass. Current informally housed populations are represented in orange. The black squares represent overall population. Growth projections for informal housing are light orange, and future overall population growth is in light gray. As one can see, this map immediately highlights the explosion in Africa and Asia. Minha Casa, Minha Vida, My House, My Life, in Brazil is one of the major federal initiatives aimed at reducing poverty and social inequality through the production and acquisition of new housing units. How this program is shaping the conditions surrounding informal housing in Brazil works to illustrate the persistence of the dilemma, and that while affordable housing is a global problem, it is an issue that is inherently nuanced from place to place. The problem of informal housing is motivated by data facts from Brazil that suggest that the access to formal urban land becomes difficult to low-income families facing A, an increased housing demand due to rapid urbanization and immigration to cities, economic stagnation, and B, deterioration of real income and persistent income inequality, C, and stricter regulations to build. 2009 marked the first time in history that more people lived in urban centers than in rural areas. This same year, Brazil commenced the ambitious housing program Minha Casa, Minha Vida, or MCMV. It is considered an important milestone in reasserting social housing as an issue of national importance for government policy and action. MCMV's goal was to provide improved housing for an estimated 7 million Brazilians. 2.4 million dwellings have been built between 2009 and 2014, a statistic that the President has held up as an achievement of her administration. MCMV is a three-stage program, each with its own objectives and budget. The last stage was slated to begin in 2015, although previous timeframes and goals of the first two stages were not met under a combined budget of roughly $52.65 billion. KITSA, the government-owned bank, awards contracts for construction of the properties, which is also responsible for facilitating the participant selection process. Families with a monthly income of less than $1,400 are invited to apply, with priority given to families who earn less than $460 per month. However, depending on the source, there are major contradictions concerning MCMV, in severe contrast with the government's optimistic outlook and promotion. With a maximum unit cost imposed, there's little incentive for construction companies to involve themselves in this area of real estate. Hasty development has led to problems with the new units. They're often of poor quality, built on cheap land to increase construction profits, and far from centers of commerce with little transportation connection. The Boston Globe reported in 2015 that in Rio de Janeiro alone, an estimated 220,000 residents are trapped by the city's chronic housing deficit. Further, the 2016 Summer Olympics have dramatically decreased real estate availability, and MCMV has created some unanticipated conflict. Many informal squatters say they are not included in the housing program. Hundreds of people regularly invade the newly built housing complexes. In this picture, squatters leave as police officers stand guard during an eviction of a public housing complex, November 19, 2015. They insisted the squatters had to go through the proper channels to receive public housing, and he ordered the group to leave. However, it is widely observed that even corrupt police illegally evict people to profit by selling the units. This image shows squatters standing with their belongings after they were evicted after 10 days from a low-income housing project. The squatters had to lug their possessions back to a nearby slum after being ordered to leave. This shows the squatter carrying his belongings back into the slum after voluntarily leaving the multi-story housing project pictured in the background. We will now shift the focus to the United States, where informal housing does not exist in a comparable capacity to that of other countries. But the dilemma of affordable housing is widely acknowledged as the most common housing problem. The primary concern is that too many households live in unaffordable rental units. The most widely accepted definition is, a unit is considered unaffordable if a household has to spend more than 30% of its income. An estimated 12 million renter and homeowner households now pay more than 50% of their annual income for housing. A family with one full-time worker earning the minimum wage cannot afford the local fair market rent for a two-bedroom apartment anywhere in the United States. This graph shows in light blue what 30% income would be for a two-bedroom house. Dark blue shows what two-bedroom renters actually make. Common blanket solutions to the affordability problem, such as simply expanding transportation, rent control, and raising the minimum wage, to name a few, rely too heavily on straight-line cause and effect. For example, raising the minimum wage in any significant way would likely reduce employment. It would also put upward pressure on the cheapest rental properties, as all the people competing for those homes would see an increase in disposable income. The affordable housing issue is complex, and the impacts shaping the problem are uniquely varied community to community. Our second issue of concern is how location and affordability impact residential choice by household. What keeps homes from being affordable varies from state to state and city to city. Each city has its own problems, and some have very unique solutions to solve those problems. We'll look at three cities, Denver, Austin, and New Orleans, and see how they've approached the problem of affordable housing. Denver, Colorado has recognized that the location of affordable housing has a major impact on its success. They have embraced transit-oriented developments, or TOD, which focuses residential development within walking distance of public transport nodes. By reducing a citizen's monthly transportation costs, they increase funds available for better housing. To keep housing prices from rising near transportation hubs, as they traditionally do, Denver is using a non-profit community land trust. The trust owns the land and only sells the house. This removes the increased land value from the equation, keeping homes affordable and near public transport. Austin's rapid population growth has moved it from the least expensive to the most expensive place to live among Texas' four major metro areas, essentially evaporating its supply of affordable housing. Austin has placed inclusionary zoning measures into its new TOD regulations to include affordable housing within walking distance of public transit. Austin has implemented a goal of 25% of the units in the TOD districts to be low-income housing. This is often done using mixed-income housing developments and increasing densities to remain profitable. New Orleans, Louisiana lost half its population and most of its affordable housing in 2005 with Hurricane Katrina. With population returning to pre-Hurricane Katrina levels, New Orleans' affordable housing supply is severely behind the demand. The New Orleans Redevelopment Authority has provided financing and land to develop almost 500 units recently, but lags well behind the estimated 15,000 units needed. This graph shows that New Orleans' transit network is already very well connected. The city simply needs more affordable housing faster than it can build them. One of the proposed solutions for larger cities that have the resources is that they should establish their own programs like New Orleans' Greater New Orleans Housing Alliance. Is a collection of nonprofit housing builders and community development corporations that are working to solve the complex problem of affordable housing in their city. Communities that do not have the resources or knowledge to establish their own programs can reach out to groups like LISC, Local Initiative Support Corporation, who operate nationwide helping communities provide affordable housing. They are a nonprofit that connects hard-to-tap public and private resources with hard-to-reach communities struggling to survive. One of the most important things that cities can do to address affordable housing is to reach out directly to the citizens with surveys, questionnaires, and candid interviews to find out exactly what their needs are. Their ability to attain affordable housing for that individual may be something as simple as learning how to properly balance budget. Without speaking directly to the people that the affordable housing problem immediately affects, there is no way to tailor a form-fitting solution for that city. Even a glance at global and local perspectives in this presentation works to support the assertion that communities have differing patterns of economic growth. Local municipalities are more aware of the unique impacts shaping the affordable housing dilemma in their area, and thus with support they are better equipped to initiate reforms that function in practice. Our research is limited due to bias, aggregate data sources, and specifically the highly contradictory information surrounding MCMV. With this said, we believe that by presenting this investigation into residential choice, or lack thereof, by household, we have offered a brief but more abstract understanding of the term affordable, and most importantly, opened the platform to even more pertinent and effective inquiries.